Good evening, folks. This is Deb, and this is a short take. So let's talk about the April 5th hands-off day of action. So as you know, I was in Boston that day, and it was impressive, I've got to say. I believe the numbers are 100,000 people. Now, there certainly weren't that many on Boston Common, but we marched from Boston Common, and there may have been 10, 15,000 there. And we marched over to City Hall Plaza from Boston Common. And there were people amassed there, and they're estimating now over about 100,000 people. And that is huge, okay? That's huge. Now, I can remember us trying to get people out on the streets in the post-Roe time frame in 2022, and it was a struggle just to get 50 people out. So people have absolutely had it with Donald Trump. And it wasn't just in Boston. It was all across this country. And actually, there were also protests overseas. France was one country where there were protests against Donald Trump in France. I believe there was a protest today in Vancouver, Canada, against Trump. So this guy is disrupting not just this country, but the entire world. So let's talk a little bit about the movement itself, because there are goals for this movement, okay? And I want to talk about what those goals are and why those goals exist. So let's start with the basics. Today, the estimates are nationwide, 5.2 million people took to the streets yesterday. And I can tell you this, in Boston, it was pouring by the time the mid-afternoon point came, and nobody walked away. Nobody left because of the weather, okay? It was incredible. It was an incredible sight. There was some amazing signs. And you know, on the YouTube version of this video, I'm going to put in links to marches in the march in Boston and in other parts of the country, because Salt Lake City was packed. Okay, I mean, there are places that you never expect stuff like this, and they were packed. You expect New York City, okay? New York City, the aerial view of New York City, the people amassed on the streets everywhere was just incredible. You expect that. But in Salt Lake City, you don't expect that. There are some parts of the country where you just didn't expect it. In Washington, D.C., over 100,000 people. And of course, you know, the right-wingers are out there on social media saying that people were bussed in. Well, yes, they were actually. So people who wanted to go to Washington, D.C. to protest because it is the seat of government. We've done it. We've done it before. I've driven, but I know they do the groups that provide for the trip, the organizing groups, you know, say Indivisible. They will arrange for buses. You pay for those buses. But of course, the right wingers out there saying, of course, that Democratic billionaires are paying for it, you know, meaning George Soros. That's actually not the case. Some people drove. Some people did take buses. No question about it. That's how you do it. It's not an uncommon thing. So 5.2 million people all across the nation. It was an incredible outpouring. It really was. I could not believe it when I got to Boston. I just said to myself, holy shit, this is huge. We should have known. The traffic just getting in there was incredible. But the goal overall is to get 3.5% of the American population off the sofa and on the streets. And that goal is because historically, fascist regimes can't survive that kind of an outpouring from the people that they're oppressing. And that's what our goal is. Our goal is just that. 3.5% of the population, which is about 11 million some odd people. And Robert Reich talks about this. And we'll put, there's an article from him, and we'll put that in the YouTube version of the video also. That's what we need to do, people. I mean, this is on all of us, okay? And the politicians were all out there with us. There were activists out there with us, okay? In Boston, we had Ed Markey and Senator Ed Markey, and we had Ayanna Pressley, who's in our House of Representatives, and we also had Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, who all the racists in Boston love to hate. And they can hate her if they want, but she got the biggest hand yesterday on City Hall Plaza. And she's got the right attitude, and we need to make sure she's reelected. So the goal here is, folks, we need to disrupt the system. Now, let me just say this. There are panickers out there because, of course, Donald Trump filed some kind of a thing that expires on the 20th of April, whereby everybody's worried that he's going to invoke martial law. He's going to invoke the Insurrection Act based on our protests. We're going to cross that bridge when we come to it, okay? He filed that. This is my theory only, but it makes sense to me, and maybe it'll make sense to you. He filed that the day he was inaugurated as a warning to us, because he knew exactly what he was going to do was going to fuck over the American people, okay? And he knew the people were going to be pissed. He's trying to scare us into not organizing, not being active, not marching, not yelling, not screaming, okay? There was absolutely no violence yesterday, none. There was no widespread violence across the country at any of these rallies. There may have been individual incidences. I don't really know, but there was no violence, or it would have been reported. And by the way, let me just also say this. We cannot cower and obey in advance to Donald Trump. Absolutely not. We need to organize. The next action is going to be on the 19th of April, okay? The next action is the 19th of April. People need to get off the sofa, get out on the streets, and make themselves seen and heard. We cannot capitulate to Trump. We cannot be afraid to organize. We cannot be afraid to be active. It is absolutely essential for our survival and to protect the things that we need so badly as American citizens, okay? And it's about everything. It's about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. It's about transgender rights. It's about due process. It's about immigrants. It's hands off, everything, okay? So that's the number one message, and the number one goal here is to get 3.5% of the population out on the streets and active. And we're going to talk about other things that people can do as well in between those actions. But for today, that's where we are. So I'm actually off on vacation this week. I am here working. I'm going to be updating our website, and then we're going to talk about that a little bit at the end of the week. But for tonight, that's what I wanted to relate to you. Tomorrow morning, the YouTube version of this will be up. You'll be able to go and you can see some videos of the actions around the country. In the meantime, have a great night. We'll talk to you all later.